was a wildly entertaining game tonight at Target Center. Rudy Gobert with 19 points and 25 rebounds. Julius Randle, a 26-8-5 game. Anthony Edwards with 20 points in the third quarter alone. Finished the game with 25, and the Timberwolves beat the Pistons 123-104 tonight at Target Center. Welcome to Wolves Live with Kevin Lynch. I'm Marty Gellner. Those highlights tell part of the story. There were multiple storylines in this game. It was a heated game. It was full of emotion. There was a big fight in the second quarter, and through it all, the Timberwolves regained composure, got themselves straightened out, and ended up with a really important win tonight.
Yeah, it's a big win. Both teams came into this ball game with the same record. Now, Detroit was higher up in the standards in the East than Minnesota, but the Clippers lost today, so Minnesota went up to 7th right now. But so there was a lot on the line, really from the get-go. Great crowd here tonight at Target Center, and the whole fight situation started with Dante DiVincenzo boxing out Isaiah Stewart. There was a little bit of a shove. And then, so it started with DiVincenzo and Stewart, and then it took over a couple possessions later, and it led to this. And I tell you what, Malik Beasley's 6 threes in the first quarter and a half was a part of this too, because of his dancing and kind of stirring up the crowd a little bit. So then there's ejections after this was all cleared up. There's players that were ejected. BJ Bickerstaff, for the head coach for Detroit's ejected. Pablo Prigioni, one of the assistant coaches for Minnesota, he's ejected. And it was one of those situations, Marnie, it seems like sometimes when things like this happen in an NBA game, after it gets cleared, guys get ejected, everything calms down, and the focus returns to basketball. But it continued to be edgy. And that was, midway through the second quarter. And the rest of the ball game, that's not what happened here tonight after that situation. The crowd and everybody kind of remained edgy the rest of the night. And Minnesota finally kind of locked down Malik Beasley. And then Minnesota kind of got going offensively with Edwards and Randle in the third quarter. Then they took over the game. There was a 40-point swing in this game. Minnesota was down 16 points early on in the first half. And they had a 24-point lead, the Wolves did, here in the second half. Pretty incredible, very heated, and give credit to Detroit. They set the tone right off the bat with their aggressive defense. Minnesota was back on their heels. The fireworks took place late in the first half. Things kind of settled down to some degree, and Minnesota caught their offense in the third quarter. But, boy, entertaining and a big win.
And that fight ignited a lot. The Pistons were up 10. At the time of the fight, it was 39-29, and then it flipped, and the Timberwolves took over from there. And one of the reasons was Rudy Gobert, who had a phenomenal night. 25 rebounds is his high as a member of the Timberwolves. Michael Grady, Jim Peterson, Rudy was a big part of this win here tonight.
Yeah, as you mentioned, his numbers, he was tremendous. And he's been talking about how he needs to be able to set the tone for Minnesota, and doing so physically on both ends of the floor. We saw it in Friday's win over the Phoenix Suns, and in this matchup against Jalen Duren, who is not a pushover. And Duren had a double-double himself, but it was Rudy Gobert dominating that matchup, which was the difference in this one.
Yeah, and coming into this game, we were worried about the physicality of the Detroit Pistons and how physically that they've been playing, and they've been playing at a high level for a long time. And so, they were one game under 500 earlier in the season, and then they just have taken the NBA by storm. And so, Marnie mentioned that Minnesota was down by 10 when the fight happened, but a lot of that was Dante and Nas getting back into it, and they were really motivating Minnesota. But Rudy was the guy that was fighting in that first half, Michael, to keep Minnesota in the game. Rudy had 10 offensive rebounds in the game for Minnesota, and of those 10 offensive rebounds, he converted those for 9 points. But Minnesota really dominated that second chance points battle to 23-13. So while he had 10 offensive rebounds, you think about Minnesota, 8 of those field goals. He hit threes after those offensive rebounds that he got too. So they found him early. The first couple baskets of this game were to Rudy Gobert, and that really kind of motivated him. But controlling the paint offensively, controlling the paint defensively, the way he was such a deterrent in the paint again. And, coming into this game, the 3 double-doubles that, we talked about him in the pregame show, 16 points and 13 rebounds in the 3 games before this one. And then he adds another 19.25 rebound game. He's on a run. And we talked about this also in the pregame show that Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley have been leading Minnesota in the month of March in overall net rating, offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating. And those 2 old guys played some pretty good basketball in this game again tonight. Mike Conley chipping in with 17. But Rudy Gobert gets the game ball for sure. He kept Minnesota in it when they were down 16. And then kept fighting back, and he fought to the very end.
Yeah, the last Timberwolves player to have at least 25 rebounds in a ball game for the Wolves, Karl Anthony Towns, back in 2019. He had 27 rebounds in that game. And again, so much action in this one in the 2 ball games against the Pistons this season. First one, you had a 53-point effort from Anthony Edwards, 40 points from Cade Cunningham. The melee in this one, we have playoffs, so much stuff to look forward to. I'm already looking forward to next season in the matchup with the Detroit Pistons. Morning.
It's been 2 memorable games for sure against the Pistons this season. This one in particular had fireworks at the 8:36 mark of the second quarter. 2 Minnesota players and an assistant coach, 3 Detroit players and their head coach, all ejected at that time. J.B. Bickerstaff left the court. He has spoken to the media since. Let's listen in to J.B. Bickerstaff after this game tonight.
What did officials tell you on the ejections?
I guess obviously things went too far. I think, the initial part of it, you go back and watch the film and see where it started. And then obviously things escalated from there. But, what you see is guys looking out for one another, guys trying to protect one another, guys trying to have each other's back. And that's that.
What are the raw emotions for you and in that locker room after a night like tonight?
Obviously, you're frustrated. The game didn't go the way that we hoped it would have gone. That instance is one of those things where, when you play the way that we play, you earn a reputation. You're going to be tested, and guys think, that's what they have to do. But you regret obviously where all of it took place. That's not something you ever want to see happen. But again, I thought our guys stood their ground and defended each other and had each other's back. And those are non-negotiables in our locker room, is that you stand your ground and you defend one another and have each other's backs. And I thought our guys did that tonight.
Hey, Coach John, what can you share about what the refs told you, what happened, what led to your ejection with their assistant coach?
There were things said by their assistant coach, and I'm in the same boat as my guys are in. We're going to defend each other, and I'm not going to let people say belligerent things about my guys. And it's that simple. So he said what he says. He knows what he said. Again, I didn't think it crossed the line to escalation of anything, but in that moment, I understand, the ref's position. But, you just can't say anything to people or about people and expect it to be okay.
That's J.B. Bickerstaff after the game tonight, after he was ejected at the 8:36 mark of the second quarter. And you heard J.B. talk about what led to this. He said you go back and you look at the things that led to the emotions and the fight in the first place. And one of those things was Malik Beasley and his reactions after hitting 6 3-pointers in the first half tonight.
I've always he's done this before when he's played in Target Center, and he's played for a lot of teams in this league now. He's got a long career, and he has done kind of this, hit a 3, and then he dances, he looks at the crowd, and he starts yapping away with something like right there, and talking to some of the Timberwolves players. We've seen some of this before. That fired everybody up, and he was on fire, folks. The